Since I've now gotten my 3D printed sock machine working, I want to try my hand at a project on it. So the one I've picked is going to be a Halloween pair of socks. I have this yarn from Shakkenmeyer Regia. It is the Gargia color and it's a self-striping Fair Isle style sock yarn. This one's in purple, orange, dark blue and white. So it's a really nice kind of Halloween color scheme that isn't too over the top. Like I'd wear this the rest of the year. And the plan for this is a pair of vanilla socks. So since I haven't installed the ribber attachment on my machine yet, I can't knit the cuff of my sock on the machine. So what I've done is I've already cast on and knit a cuff. This is out of some scrap yarn. I don't know what the color is. I got it secondhand and I actually over dyed it. So it was originally white with pink and blue speckles, but now it's got this gray purple overlay. So I've knitted 2x1 cuff. And it's about as long as I want it now. So I think the plan is going to be, I'm going to load this onto the machine and hang all these stitches on the 64 needles. And then I'm going to try to crank some of this self-striping yarn with my machine. I really hope it goes well. I don't want to muck up the cuff I've already done. And in terms of the design, I think I'm going to try to just knit a big long tube as long as one of my normal socks. And then I'll deal with the heel later and I will do an afterthought heel. And I'll also knit the toe by hand. I know that you can use this machine to knit heels and toes. You can knit selectively on just a few needles back and forth, but I don't know how to do it yet. So I'm gonna leave that for future me to figure out. And for now, I'm just gonna focus on the tube. So last night I played around with this and I tried to adjust the tension. When I knit my first little scrap swatch, which I'm using as a cast on bonnet, I actually realized that it's quite loose. This is a lot looser than a sock that I would hand knit would be, even though it's 64 stitches. And I realized that I had misunderstood the way that the tension cam works on this machine. So there's a kind of section of the machine that pulls the needles down, and the lower they get pulled down, the bigger the loop they pull through is. So the looser the stitches. I had that backwards. So last night I played around with it and I figured that out, and I've raised the cam as far as I can so the stitches are the smallest they can be. I did a little test sample. I had to unravel it, but it was almost as tight as a hand knit sock tension for me. So I'm hoping that with this different yarn, maybe I'll hit gauge. But yeah, on this machine, the tighter that you make the stitches, the less likely they are to properly sit on the needles. And if they don't sit properly on the needles, you'll skip a stitch. And that's really annoying to fix. So I'm trying to kind of pick the happy medium where my stitches are nice and tight, but they still are gonna flow really nicely. Also, because this machine is new, it hasn't been properly worn in or lubricated yet. I need to add some, and that will allow the stitches to flow a little more freely. So I'm hoping that with some wear on the plastic gears and a bit of lubricant, this machine will run a bit more smoothly over time. Let's load up this cuff onto the machine, and then we will try to crank out my very first sock. So you might be able to see that most of the needles are in the up position, but some of them are currently down in this carriage. So I'm going to load all of these ones that are sticking up, and then I'll have to start winding and then deal with this kind of last quarter later. So I guess I'm going to just use my needle like so, and slip off one stitch at a time, and I guess try to slip it onto the matching needle. There we go. Okay, that wasn't so bad. Oh, I dropped one. Oh, and as you can see, last night when I was playing around with the machine, I actually pinched my hand between the crank and the frame, and I pinched it really badly. So just ignore that band-aid. Definitely so far, the fiddliest part of this whole experience has been learning how to kind of load these needles. They're very, very small, and they're actually quite sharp. And it's quite awkward to kind of get inside this machine. I'm sure with more time, I'll get better at it. And I actually have already gotten better, and I've only had this for a couple of days. Once I get the ribber installed, which is a kind of central piece that sits in the middle and it has needles on the inside, so you can knit knits and purls. Once I have that installed, I'll be able to do everything, like the cuff and everything on the machine, which I think will be better. So first impressions off the machine, I am so happy. Look at how well that joined into the cuff, and overall the tension is really good. As you can see, it leans one way, kind of like the tension isn't tight enough and these stripes are leaning one way. But then as you go through, it starts to lean the other way and the tube gets a little bit skinnier here. So I'm not sure exactly what I did. I might have put more tension, like more weight on the tube. But either way, the adjustment is so small, and then it doesn't even look that good at the end here. Like, I think what it's telling me is I might try to tweak the tension back to closer to how I had it before and just keep at it. And I might just keep this as is, like from afar. This doesn't look bad. In terms of the length, this is my drowse sock, cuff to cuff. They're really similar length. Just a little bit longer here because I need to pick up some of these stitches. So I'm pretty happy with that length there. And of course, I don't have a heel on this or a toe yet. So I'm gonna have to add those in. If I just put my foot in it. Overall, I'm gonna say this experiment was a pretty big success. Like, I knit this tube in a morning. I couldn't have done this by hand in less than a week. There's still a little bit more to do, but I am broadly very happy and impressed with myself and my new skill that I've learned. So time to add the toe and the heel, and then I'll have one of my finished pair of socks. It's now just a few days till Halloween, and I have added the toe and the heel to this sock. And I'm so pleased with how it turned out. Particularly, I'm happy with this afterthought heel. So I cut into the fabric and I kind of added on this little corner, which is exactly the same as a sock toe. So it's just decreasing on either side every other round, up until you get to about 12 stitches left, and then grafting it closed. So the toe and the heel only took maybe a day to do, and that's very good news because I've just finished this second one on the machine, and I only have a couple of days until 1, Halloween, and then 2, I go overseas. So I'm really hoping I can get this finished in time. Now I did want to talk about the tension issues I was clearly having while knitting these. I was really getting a little bit obsessed with getting the tension just right for this self-striping pattern to emerge. As you can see, there are some sections where the kind of pre-dyed dots don't line up, and I thought that was something wrong with the tension. I also can tell this is a little bit looser than my normal sock tension, so I did tighten the tension when I started the second sock, and I ran into all sorts of problems. The machine kept jamming, and the stitches started to get so tight that I couldn't really turn the handle, or like they wouldn't actually knit. I ended up having to take the whole thing off the machine because while it's quite easy to loosen the tension cam and raise it up, making it tighter while the sock is on the machine, if the sock is quite tight, there's a lot of pressure on the needles, and trying to actually lower the tension cam to stretch the stitches out more is really, really hard. There's just not enough give in the yarn that's already there. So I did end up taking the whole sock off the machine onto these needles. I knit around by hand and then I reinstalled it, but only after having loosened the tension. And I loosened it to basically where this first sock was. It was pretty much spot on, and luckily I had marked on the machine where it was. It was maybe like a millimeter tighter this time. And despite that, I knit this top half on the super tight setting, which is very difficult, and this bottom half on the kind of regular tightness, and they're really, really similar. But they're actually both a lot tighter than my first sock, which is so strange. You can see that the sock is actually wider, but also that the stitches are larger on this first sock. So it could be a combination of me now applying more weight now that I know how to use the machine better. It could be more tension coming from the ball of yarn. I'm not sure what, but I'm really happy with the tension of this second sock. And I've just accepted that this self-striping yarn just isn't ever going to be perfect. I think I've seen people knit this kind of yarn by hand, and even then the little lines don't line up perfectly. So whatever. I'm going to zoom through the last little bit of this so that I can pack these and take them overseas and hopefully have them on my feet on Halloween night. One thing I want to mention before I forget while I finish this toe is that my first sock fits really well, except I made the foot section a little bit too long. I kind of misjudged where to put this afterthought heel. So since the stripes make it easy to measure, I'm actually going to put the heel on this second sock just a little bit closer to the toe. So the socks are the same length, but they'll be a little bit more allocated to the leg. So here I put the heel just before the third orange stripe starts from the cuff down. And on the second sock, I'm going to put it a little bit further. I'm going to put it like partway into this orange stripe. So probably like maybe 4 rows down. I am really surprised with how well the afterthought heel fits me. I have had trouble in the past with the Flegel heel and it being much too tight. So I thought I had a really high instep. And I've always avoided short row heels and afterthought heels. I've only really ever done heel flap and gussets. So this is really exciting that it fits me so well. And I think it's opening up a world of sock heels I can now try out. And it's so easy, and you can do contrast heels. They look really symmetrical and nice. So yeah, that was a really pleasant surprise. And I really enjoy just knitting the body of the sock in a tube without any interruption. That's quite fun. You don't have to worry about the heel till the end. So I'm just about to finish off the toe of this second sock, probably in the next hour or so. And then I'll get stuck into the heel and then we're done. And just like that, the socks are done. just in time for Halloween night. I had heaps of fun making these, and I think I learned a lot about my sock machine, which I'm really excited to use again very soon. Having now made this second sock a little bit tighter, I do think that next time I will take a couple of extra stitches for this heel section. So I split off 32 of my 64 stitches for the heel. I think next time I might do maybe 34, 36, just to add a tiny bit of extra room in that heel, because it does look a little bit small on my foot. I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Happy Halloween!